Hello YouTube. In the last video we were watching about thought forms and how they originate and what they actually are. We were saying that thought forms are nothing more than a form of a thought. For example, we were talking about a rose, and as soon as we got the mental image of a rose, we understand that that is a simple form of a thought form. Now, in the video that we just saw, it was a little bit scary, a little bit different, perhaps a little bit dark. One of the first images that we saw was a image of a seductive woman. This woman, we want to understand where would she come from, or what would she be as a thought form. We might be familiar with the word succubus. We might be familiar with the word incubus. What these entities are, they are supposedly entities that feed on sexual energy. We sort of do not agree with that assessment. We more or less are under the idea that a succubus or an incubus feeds upon thought energy, or I don't know if we can make ourselves clear this way. They actually feed on thought. They are thought forms. They are not permanent entities, meaning that they don't exist. They don't have a permanent existence. They don't have an eternal existence. They depend on a thinker. They depend on somebody that is able to give them existence. They will most likely take on the form of whatever we think is beautiful, whatever impression we've had either from a book, from a movie, or even observing somebody's girlfriend. We might come up with these images in our mind of what the ideal or what the perfect woman might be. And in the case of women, it would be obviously a male entity, and he might be an incredibly romantic, handsome entity. He will be there existing because of our thoughts. We give them existence. Something also to note about, for example, one of the images that we saw was a kind of a monstrous image, kind of almost demon looking. What about those entities? What about them? What are they? There are thought forms that exist from a collective thought process. What does this mean? If we can imagine so many people thinking about or believing rather about demons, about all sorts of evil entities, they will exist. They will exist in what many people call the lower astral realm. We're not going to get into exactly into classifying areas of the astral realm, but that's what many people call these areas, or these we would rather call them vibrations of consciousness. They are there, and the reason they're there is because a group or collective group of people believe in them. This is what happens with these monstrous entities, or these demonic entities. Many of them can also be created simply by traumas and by fears. They will take on very scary images. Fear itself can take on the image of a really, really ugly and terrifying looking monster. But not all is dark, not all is evil. There is such a thing as light thought forms. What do we mean by this? We could be thinking about angels, we could be thinking about something divine, we could be thinking about something beautiful, and these thought forms will also come into existence, and they will be considered good. This is why many esoteric religions tell us to quiet the mind, and tell us to try to keep a quiet mind during meditation and during wakefulness. Why would we do this? We would do this for the simple reason that there are thought forms of light and there are thought forms of darkness. Neither one is of a permanent existence. Neither one is a real existence. So we might be asking ourselves, what is real? What would be a real existence within the astral realm? A real existence would be anything that's a virtue. For example, love, compassion, tolerance, patience. All these virtues are actually manifestations of consciousness. And these virtues sometimes decide to manifest themselves. And when they do, they can actually manifest themselves as a being of light. These are real. We will go deeper into this next week, into what actually manifestations are and virtues. But we wanted to give that little preview so that we would be able to establish a difference between the thought forms and the manifestations. So what are we to do? What should we do to be able to have an astral projection and not have to deal with these entities? Many times what happens is our body will go into what is called a sleep paralysis. That's when we can't move. This is nature's way of ensuring that we do not act out our dreams while we are asleep. It can be a scary experience, and the reason why it's a scary experience is simply because our mind begins to race, and our mind doesn't know exactly what's going on. And we will refer to all these thought forms once again. We will see little demons, we will see succubuses, we will see all kinds of crazy things. And it is because we are not aware. We are not aware as we should be. So how do we awaken? What is it that we're supposed to do? I invite you to listen to the music that's in the background and to notice your breath. Notice your breath as you're inhaling and as you're exhaling. Notice that small moment in between breaths. Do not change your breath, just notice it. That moment in between breaths is what we're looking for. We're looking for that consciousness. That moment when we ask ourselves the questions that you see on the screen, that have been scrolling on the screen. Who are you? What are you? And why are you here? What is your purpose? Any answer that might come to your mind is a thought form. A very simple thought form, but a thought form nonetheless. It is not real, and it is not who you are. It is not the correct answer. But those instances, those moments right in between the answers that are popping up in our head, that's what we're looking for. That is consciousness. That is what we truly are. This is what we should focus on. If you enjoyed today's video, please do not forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button, or to favorite the video. This helps us a lot. We look forward into next week, where we will talk about manifestations of consciousness, and we will see you then.